Welcome to this explainer. Okay, we have got a truly captivating narrative to unpack today. We're diving deep into a very popular Islamic horror fable, drawn straight from recent storytelling sources. And let me tell you, this story weaves together some intense themes. We're talking unwavering faith, the ultimate classic warning of stranger danger, and a genuinely terrifying antagonist known as Shaitaan ki Nani, or the devil's grandmother. Today we're going to map out exactly how this fable uses suspense and some really fascinating spiritual mechanics to deliver a pretty powerful lesson. So, let's get into it.
It all begins with a question that totally sets the stage for our entire analysis. What happens when a simple walk in the woods turns into a deadly trap set by the devil's grandmother? To really understand how this narrative grips you, we have to look at this central conflict. We meet two siblings, Abdullah and his sister Fatima. Now, they are simply out searching for fruit. Super normal, right? But within moments, the source material pivots hard from this totally mundane chore into a high-stakes struggle for survival against an unseen, supernatural malice.
All right, let's start with Section 1, Journey into the Forest.
Now, every good fable needs a strong setting to isolate its characters, and this one absolutely delivers. This is the first act of our hero's journey. It's that classic moment where the siblings cross the threshold from the safety of their known world, right into a deeply unsettling, unpredictable environment. And the source material explicitly uses sensory details to build this creeping dread. It doesn't just say, the forest is scary. It paints a very specific picture. Cold winds, dry, lifeless trees, and above all, an absolute, heavy silence. The narrative is literally stripping away all those comforting sounds of nature. So when Fatima remarks that the forest feels strange, the story is validating our own rising anxiety. The environment itself is a giant red flag.
And this brings us to a moment that brilliantly illustrates the dynamic between the two siblings, which actually anchors the moral framework of the whole fable. Confronted with this incredibly eerie atmosphere, Abdullah responds to Fatima's fear with a foundational statement: "Trust in Allah, Fatima. All will be well." The narrative establishes Abdullah right off the bat as the voice of faith and resilience. And this isn't just throwaway dialogue. It's actually a foreshadowing of the precise mechanism, unwavering religious trust, that's going to be required to survive the massive ordeal they're about to face.
Moving right along to Section 2, The Witch's Sweet Trap.
So as the siblings venture deeper, the environment shifts. It goes from this silent dread to an active lure. They stumble upon an old, broken-down wooden house, and get this, the door opens entirely on its own. The threshold has been crossed yet again, moving from the wild forest into a domestic, yet highly unnatural space. And from inside that dark cabin comes this sweet, comforting tone. Come children, eat warm halwa, grandmother's love. Now, I don't know about you, but warm halwa is pretty hard to resist. And honestly, that is exactly the point. The antagonist is weaponizing innocence and comfort. Halwa is a warm, sweet traditional dessert, a universal symbol of hospitality. By framing herself as this loving grandmother offering a treat, the trap is perfectly designed to totally disarm the natural defenses of a hungry, tired child. It is deception in its absolute purest form.
Let's break down the rapid execution of this trap because it is fast. 1. The seemingly kind old woman physically offers the sweet halwa. 2. Fatima, completely giving in to the comfort, takes a bite. 3. The consequence is immediate. Fatima instantly faints. There's no slow, drawn-out poisoning here. The narrative moves with terrifying speed to show just how quickly a seemingly kind gesture can escalate into a total nightmare. The trap snaps shut.
With Fatima unconscious on the floor, the whole facade just drops. Abdullah desperately yells for his sister to open her eyes, but the old woman's eyes turn a furious, glowing red. She laughs, claims ownership over the children, and delivers this horrific reveal. I am Shaitaan ki Nani. I am the devil's grandmother. So the story just upgraded the threat, right? We've gone from a creepy forest witch to an entity tied directly to ultimate evil. It's a fantastic narrative peak that transitions the whole story from a spooky mystery into a desperate rescue mission.
Which brings us to Section 3, A Divine Intervention.
Now, Abdullah reacts the way literally any child would. He flees in absolute terror. He's crying, he's terrified, but the source explicitly notes one very vital detail here. He keeps the name of Allah on his tongue. And because of that steadfastness, the narrative introduces a counterforce to the evil witch, setting up this stark contrast. On one side, you have Shaitaan ki Nani, characterized by red eyes, deception, and pure danger. On the other, the divine helper Abdullah suddenly encounters, a beautiful deer with radiant eyes, bringing peace and guidance. The deer speaks to him, comforts him, and ultimately reveals itself not as just some talking animal, but as an angel sent by God to act as his guide.
The angel doesn't just pat him on the back, though. It equips Abdullah with the exact knowledge he needs to fight back, introducing a very specific mystical tool, the Nurani flower. As defined here, Nurani comes from Nur, which means radiant light. The narrative makes a point to say that this white flower doesn't just smell nice, it literally emits light hidden deep within the absolute darkest parts of the forest. It represents a physical manifestation of divine purity, literally pushing back against the darkness of the witch's domain. And the angel doesn't just point him in a general direction either. He gives Abdullah a highly specific 3-step quest. First, brave the dark depths to find the radiant flower. Second, pluck just a single leaf. Third, return and place that specific leaf directly into Fatima's mouth. It is your classic hero's trial. Abdullah has to actively participate in this rescue. The angel provides the method, sure, but Abdullah, he has to provide the courage and actually take action.
Setting the stage for Section 4, Defeating the Darkness.
So Abdullah follows the angel's guidance. He plunges into the dark depths of the woods, locates the glowing flower, and grabs the leaf. The suspense here is so palpable as he races back to the broken-down house, just praying he isn't too late. He gently places the leaf into his unconscious sister's mouth, and within moments her eyes flutter open. The antidote works. But waking Fatima is only half the battle, because the entity is still right there. As soon as Fatima wakes up, Abdullah takes the final offensive step. In a loud, commanding voice, he recites specific verses from the Quran, Surah Al-Falaq and Surah An-Nas. Now, within the context of Islamic tradition and the mechanics of this specific fable, these chapters are known as prayers for seeking refuge in God from evil, darkness, and malice. This is the climax of the story, where spiritual words are used as literal, tangible weapons.
And the physical reaction to these verses? It is instantaneous and completely spectacular. The witch doesn't just back down or run away. She is destroyed by the recitation. She screams in sheer agony. Her face begins to literally burn away. Her body emits this thick smoke as she cries out that the power of the Quran is burning her alive, until finally she vanishes completely into nothingness. The narrative leaves absolutely no ambiguity here. The divine words overpower the supernatural evil utterly and completely.
Which brings us to our final act, Section 5, the ultimate moral lesson.
With the threat vanquished, the smoke cleared, and the siblings finally reunited, Fatima is understandably shocked. She asks her brother what on earth just happened. And this is where the fable explicitly pauses the action, looks directly at the audience, and delivers the core purpose of the story we've just unpacked. Abdullah turns to his sister with a smile and delivers this exact line. With the power of the Quran, prayer, and faith, we can defeat any devilish deception. The source material very impartially lays out its religious mechanics right here. You see, the story isn't just meant to scare kids, it's a constructed framework designed to reinforce the idea that spiritual tools like prayer, scripture, and unwavering belief are the ultimate armor against any deception the world might throw your way.
So, let's distill these takeaways exactly as the source lays them out for us. First up, a highly practical, earthy lesson. Never trust the sweet words of strangers. That Hawa, it was a lie. Second, the spiritual lesson. Always ask for divine help in moments of terror. And third, a major warning on awareness. The devil comes in many forms. Evil isn't always going to look like some scary monster lurking in the woods. Sometimes it looks just like a kindly grandmother offering you a warm meal.
And that brilliantly encapsulates the wild journey of Abdullah and Fatima. We've seen exactly how a story can use sensory dread, deceptive archetypes, and structured spiritual mechanics to teach a profound lesson on survival and belief. So I want to leave you with this final, lingering question to reflect on today. In the narratives that shape your own understanding of the world, how does the power of faith or your own core beliefs protect you from unseen dangers? Thanks for walking through this explainer with me, and keep questioning the stories around you.